I know it's a struggle for many to understand what gender dysphoria is like. You can liken it to a plague inside of you. It's like an internal battle that goes on and it plays in the background. Like for me today, it's a little milder, but a lot of times it's much stronger and it's just always there. And it's different for each individual who deals with it. I know I had someone who just commented on the last video, and it's a good question asking about, well, they wonder how sexuality links to gender. I don't have the answers to it all. This is a very complex subject. All I can say is that I would not wish it upon anybody, and it's one of those things you have to experience for yourself, and I hope you don't, because it's as bad as depression or a personality disorder or bipolar or anything like that. It plagues you. So the best way I can describe it is something internal that's always playing. It's always in the background, and it causes a lot of torment. It can cause a lot of torment and discomfort. So you have to try to find ways to either merge it. You either have to try to find a way to live with it and merge it with you in this lifetime, or the only other thing you can do if it's tormenting you relentlessly and you've exhausted every other means to try to live with it, then the only other thing that would be logical to do is transition to the gender. And in my mind, it doesn't mean that, I've had a couple of people here and there that will say, there was a woman recently that said, I don't appreciate people trying to pretend to be a woman. Well, that's not how I look at it. That's not what I would be attempting to do here. It's not that I would be saying, oh, I'm a female, I'm 100% female. No, I don't believe that. And for my situation in particular, it's past life related. So we all have reasons why we go through gender dysphoria. A few years ago in deep meditation, I had past life regression and realized mine originates from the past life as a woman where I was traumatized, deeply traumatized, likely went through SA, I think as a child and as an adult, because I think she was in the adult industry. But her trauma was very deep rooted. And because of that, there was lust addiction, but in a detrimental way, the way she felt lust. I believe through cellular debris that's carried over into my current lifetime. So I know where it originates from. I talk about it in therapy too. I have a very open-minded therapist, and the one I had for a year was like this too. You could talk to her about anything. This therapist too is the same in that respect. I could talk to her about anything. I talk to her about the past life. I can talk about the esoteric. I can talk about the paranormal I've been through in the last 6 years since I've become self-aware. But even knowing where the gender dysphoria originates from for me and where it comes from does not take away the torment a lot of the time I go through with trying to ease the discomfort, because I feel like in my past life, my life was unfulfilled and it came to an end in a bad way. I'm not sure exactly how. I think she might have unalived, but if not, it could have been from addiction, drug addiction, or something like that. But she had an unfulfilled life, and it bleeds over into me now to where it's like that life still wants to live and breathe. So I feel my personality from that lifetime flood through me. And I'll look in the mirror and I'll see her, me, basically when my soul was in that lifetime. I feel the emotions and the feelings that rode through her. And it's a crazy experience. It can be, I think gender dysphoria for many people is a roller coaster anyway. But this, for me, that's how I would describe it. It could be a roller coaster of feelings and emotions, especially when that lifetime floods through me in a very strong way. And I'll look at myself in the mirror and I get frustrated because I want to look the way I used to look. And I have a pretty good idea from the past life images I've gotten, things of how I was, how I looked, the vibe I had. And a lot of times when the dysphoria is strong, because that was a lot of unresolved trauma in that lifetime, I want to embody that again. So this is a real struggle for me. And when I was saying, well, if I transitioned, I would not look at myself as a cis female. I would look at myself as a trans woman. And I'm not saying this is what I'm not telling other people how they should look at themselves if they transition. This is just how I would look at it. I feel like I could get close to what it would be like to live my life out as a female. I do believe I could get to a passing level if I were to take hormones and do a little work with hair removal, things like that. But for myself, I don't presume, I would be a 100% female, because I can't see it, because you're not going to have some of the internal things as a female. But what I do have are the emotions, and I have a lot of the feelings and emotions I had in the past life. So it's also unfair for someone to say to me, well, you don't know what it's like to feel like a woman. Well, I would differ with you on that, because I have the past life memory and cellular debris that still floods through me, and that's why I have the dysphoria. So I do know what it's like. I have a lot of the past life memory, but if I was to transition in this life, I'm not under an illusion that I would be a 100% woman. I just would be likely able to pass and blend and feel a lot of closeness to womanhood, that sort of thing. It's how I would look at it. And it wouldn't be to infringe on other women, because I would want to fit in with them. That's the whole idea. It's total respect. So I have a lot of respect for women and their plight and things women have went through in lifetimes or over the centuries. I mean, I have total respect. I have empathy. So it's not about infringing on women or I've had a couple of women comment before that would say, well, you're just looking at yourself and it's just about lust or whatever. And there are men that do this. There are men that are cross-dressers that their whole thing is they like to sometimes dress up in it. They feel aroused and they feel lust from said experience. That's not what I'm feeling. Do I feel lustful looking at myself? Yes, but it's not from the lens of, I'm going to go dress up and I'm going to look at myself and then I'm just going to go back to I can put that in the background and now I'm just going to go out and be a man. A lot of these men, some of them are pretty manly in their regular lives and they're happy with that. They're happy being masculine men in their regular everyday life, but they have this thing on the side where they like to cross-dress and they have a lustful experience from that. And that's it. That's all it is for them. It's not what it is for me. I'll look at myself and I get excited about certain things because I could see things of where I can tweak and I would be able to pass. And it does get me, it can arouse me, it can get me excited because I'm bisexual. I have desires inside of me, and I believe a lot of those desires, I repressed them for years, but I believe a lot of those desires also come from the past life, and they're with me now and part of my makeup of who I am. Though I've stated many times, I am mostly attracted to women, but I do have man attraction to certain men. Never dated any, but I do have that certain attraction. And it's something over the past couple of years, I've come more with being more authentic. I own my sexuality and what I'm about, who I am. So I've talked on here on this channel about how I am self-aware. I try to work on myself. I try to work on my nervous system. I try to do things to work on trauma in this lifetime and the past life trauma. So I go to therapy. I've been in therapy 1.5 years. I generally try to eat pretty decent. So like I said, we all have things. Ice cream is one of my major vices. I love black coffee. It's what I have right here. I drink very strong black coffee. One of my favorite coffees is Swedish coffee. That ever since I went to Sweden, I liked, and I still drink it to this day a lot of the time, not all the time. So a lot of people have the coffee addiction though. I'd say most people have a caffeine addiction. Not everybody, most people. But generally, besides the ice cream, I eat generally pretty healthy. I try to exercise, so I try to go out and run. But with gender dysphoria, it's been heightened a lot lately to where I haven't done much other exercises because with dysphoria, I can look at my body and I'll want to look smaller or softer. Sometimes when it's been milder for a while, then I've gotten back to push-ups or things like that. But lately I haven't. Thought about trying it again, push-ups, some muscle stuff, just body resistance exercises. But the dysphoria has been so heightened that I've wanted to just look more feminine. So I've ran, and that's about it. Jumping jacks, stretches, things like that. So dysphoria is the biggest thing because it can disrupt so many things. So I work on my trauma from childhood and adult years. I try to regulate my nervous system by eating mostly a decent diet, getting some exercise, getting some sun. It's important to get sun, not bake in it. Get some sun though on your eyes, on your skin a little bit if you can. So even if if it's cold out or I don't want to go out, say, because maybe there's a day it's just freezing cold and I don't want to go out, I'll still, if there's sun, I'll get it through the window for a while or something like that. But sometimes I even go out and run at night at the park in the cold. It just depends. It depends on how I'm feeling. But I guess the point of this is I'm doing all these things to try to regulate. And with therapy also, I'm also on an online group with somebody else I follow because I've spoke on here about the esoteric, paranormal. I'm not religious, but I believe in reincarnation, source energy. I've spoke about frequency and vibration. I follow a group called Cycle Breakers, which is part of a channel by Jeremiah Schwartz. If you want to check him out, you can. He speaks of nervous system regulation and stuff like this. The only other person that I know who even talks like him, really, that I also watch from time to time is Aaron Dowdy. Aaron Dowdy has a huge following on here. Jeremiah Schwartz has a pretty big following though, and I joined his community, Cycle Breakers. It's kind of a supplement with my therapy because everyone on Cycle Breakers is also working on this kind of stuff, and I may be the only gender dysphoric person on there, but I'm able to be myself on there and talk about these things like I do in therapy without anybody knowing that everybody's an accepting community there. So that's why I joined that. I thought it was a good opportunity. So these are all things I'm saying that I try to work on myself with, and that leads to gender dysphoria being probably the toughest thing I deal with. I guess that's the point of all of this, is that it is that hard to deal with. So when people think, well, they don't understand, and they're just like, well, what's the link between sexuality and gender and this and that, and how can this be? Well, all I can tell you is just how it torments the soul, and it's just a tormenting thing going on inside you. I do my best to resolve it because I know it's past life related. So there is really, what I actually feel is that when we reincarnate, our soul has somewhat has a plan as to what it wants to do in a lifetime, that it kind of has a layout of what it might want to experience in a particular lifetime, who it might want to interact with, or what trauma it might want to resolve from a past lifetime. And because of that, I think that's what happened here with me as I came into this life as a male. This is something I've been sitting and really processing a lot lately, is why did this happen? Why couldn't I have just been born a female and I wouldn't be in this pain? But is that true? Because what would have probably happened is I would have came back in, say I was a female in this life. I think I spoke on this a little bit last video, but we'll go through it a little bit again. If I was a female in this life, and say I interacted with all the same people I have interacted with as a male, as a child, I think I would have went through SA again, like I did in my past life, because I was around a lot of seedy characters, shady characters that I think could have easily been up to no good if I had been a little girl. And my soul may have said, you know what, let's go into this life as a male. Yeah, it'll be difficult. But see, with reincarnation, I believe you come in with your memory wiped. And the purpose for that is so you can have a new life experience. But like, say I would have came into this life in the male body and I could remember everything from the past life immediately. I mean, I would automatically be coming out. I would automatically, as a child, I already dealt with a lot of trauma as a child in this life, but I would have dealt with, if I had memory of that past life as a child, total memory of it, and I don't have total memory of it now, it would probably be even more traumatic for me. So I think that's why our mind gets wiped, to have a new experience. But also, if we were to remember every past life we ever had, like from the time we're a child, and it was a traumatic experience for us, it would be so hard to process. So what happened was it was embedded in me. It was embedded deep in me, the past life cellular debris. And it would come out in little pieces throughout my life. So teenage years, cross-dressing some. At puberty, I felt very feminine, things I couldn't explain. Adult years, there were times I had man attraction to certain men. I would repress it. I've also discussed before, because of religion, I would repress. The fear of hell, I would repress, because I was brought up with these beliefs as well. I had to break through these things, break out of these things, out of these programs. So I would have the dysphoria pieces pop in and out, and I would repress them and push them back down. And it wasn't until 2021 that it came out because of the repression, pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down. It just came out finally. It came out in a very strong manner to where I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I had become self-aware, and at the end of 2019, I had been going through paranormal experiences. I'd been going through, some people call it an awakening to, you could call it that, to the metaphysical, esoteric, the spiritual world without religion. I was becoming aware of a lot of aspects of things, and have over the last 6 years. I've been on this journey. But the dysphoria came into play in 2021, around mid-2021, where it just finally pushed up to the surface. The cellular debris came up from... I was doing a lot of meditations, a lot of time in nature, and that's when I had the past life regression. Past life images and emotions and things came to me from that lifetime, and I started to put together where my gender dysphoria originated from. And now what I see as my biggest challenge is I have to make a choice at some point. So what I'm trying to do is help resolve the trauma from that past life, because I believe my soul came into this male body so it would not experience more abuses, possibly, of SA or anything like that. Even though I still had other traumas I've dealt with in this life, but it would still give me a shot at some point of maybe working on that trauma. So I think my soul had intended for me to become self-aware later in this lifetime, and at some point to give me some memory that I could handle, some memories, enough of the memories of the past life that I'm able to handle, because I probably would not be able to handle the entire lifetime being given to me. And I think that's for protection for us too. We're given what our consciousness can handle, what we can be able to deal with. And I have enough of it to know that it was traumatic. She lived a very traumatic life, so I'm trying to assimilate it and still trying to merge it and still trying to work through. And when I feel the trauma of that life, I sit with it. And I guess you could say, in a way, I hold myself. It's like holding myself in a sense of like holding her from the past life, I guess you could say, but it's like, I have you, I feel you, I know what you went through, I know it was hard, I know it was traumatic, it's okay. I try to do this and work on the feelings and absorbing the emotions to help heal it, and I'm hoping that at some point it heals enough to where I'm comfortable enough living out my life. The idea has been to heal it enough and heal other traumas in this lifetime by working on my nervous system to be able to release that past life enough to say, okay, I can live out my life as I am. Now, with that being said, it is a struggle, and I don't know if it will be possible. It's just something I keep attempting to do. At some point, though, I probably, if I'm not able to really fully let it go, at some point, I may transition. But I'm also worried about that, because I feel like sometimes if I transition, then there's also, I'm afraid I would also take on more of her traits that I had back then. Stuff I'm trying to heal. Would I take on more of her lust? Because I have before, I've discussed that. In the last video, I believe I discussed the Instagram I had a year, almost 2 years ago now, where I portrayed a woman, and I was very lustful on that Instagram. It's like her personality. I was really, I let my personality from that past life totally flood through, and I was really letting it flow on that Instagram. I didn't know exactly what I was doing at the time. But I look back at it and I know that's what was going on. My personality from that time just overtook me, and she had a very dark lust about her, but a lot of it came from abuse. So sometimes I'm like, okay, you could transition and you don't have to be the way you were. But sometimes I get afraid of that, like, oh, you transition, then you're going to want to be kind of how you were. But I also tell myself, well, no, you could transition and still work on your nervous system, still do all the things you're doing to help yourself. The only big difference is I would be taking HRT, and I would change. My appearance would somewhat change, and I would just be living life more through a female lens. So anyway, I still haven't made a solid decision, but I just wanted to give background again for people who don't understand. You're not going to understand. I mean, I wish I could be able to say, let me give you just a touch of this. Not that it stays with you, but let me just let you feel it for a moment, or feel it for 10 minutes, or something. What it's like to have gender dysphoria plague you, and then you would get more of an idea of what I'm talking about, of how extremely difficult it is. It's like depression or something like that. You can't just shut it off. That's a frustrating thing too. The toxicity of positive talk, where people just think positive talk. You got the people out there that just say, oh, you can just turn off something, or you got people that they go to a self-help seminar, or they read self-help books, or they do watch self-help material. You got these people that don't practice anything to do with it. They just read, they just go to the seminar, they listen to a podcast, they hear somebody tell them some stuff, and they don't practice any of it. But they think they've got everything figured out, or they'll be the ones to come up and tell you that you can just they've heard some positive toxicity type of talk where you can just turn off depression, you can just turn off dysphoria, all these things. But you cannot. When you try to do that, it can last for a little bit of time, but all you're doing is repressing it and masking it, and you're just putting on your big mask. And people like that usually have mini masks. I know I used to wear a mini mask, and they're just putting on another mask to push down all their feelings, all their trauma that they are saying to you that they shut off. You don't. All you're doing is stuffing it down, and what'll happen is it'll cause you physical ailments. It'll cause you to get sick. It can cause you. It's going to cause more anxiety, cause stomach issues, cause you to be more stressed. Nothing but more issues can come from that sort of stuff. The only thing you can truly do with this sort of thing, dysphoria, depression, anything, is do things to work through. Be authentic as you can be. Try to be in the present moment more often. Don't think in the past, the future, all of the time. Try to limit that. Don't eat a bunch of garbage all of the time. Try to move around some. Try to, like I said, get some sun, because there's a lot of great feeling, and there's a connection to source through the sun and nature. And this all helps your nervous system. And sit. One of the most important things you can do is you don't cut off these feelings, to repress them. You sit with them and let them come up through you. You feel them as they're happening. You accept them. You don't act like they don't exist because of religious programming or because you're worried about impressing this person or that person. You feel them, you accept them, you sit with them to try to understand yourself better and why you feel the way you feel. You look internally to start asking yourself questions about why do you feel the way you feel. This is a lot that you do, and if you can go to therapy and find an open-minded therapist, I would highly recommend that. So anyway, that's all I got for now, guys. I'll talk to y'all later on. Bye.